There is a man in this room who hasn't said a word in 11 minutes, and somehow everyone is afraid of him. Watch the people around him. Watch how they fill the silence. Watch how they stumble over their own words trying to decode what he's thinking. Watch how they volunteer information no one asked for. He hasn't done anything, and that is precisely the point. Most people believe power comes from what you say, the loudest voice, the sharpest argument, the fastest comeback. But the most dangerous people on this planet have discovered something ancient, something counterintuitive, something that turns the entire game upside down. Real power doesn't announce itself. It doesn't defend itself. It doesn't explain itself. Real power withholds. And in that withholding, in that deliberate, weaponized silence, it creates something that words never could: fear, respect, obsession. Today, we are going to teach you something that schools never will. We're going to break down the exact psychological mechanics of silence as a weapon. We're going to show you the specific situations where staying quiet hands you total strategic control. And by the end of this video, you will never look at a pause, a non-response, or a blank stare the same way again. Before we go any further, drop this in the comments right now. My silence is my power. If you found this channel today, that phrase is your initiation. Let's begin. Niccolo Machiavelli, the 15th century Florentine strategist whose name became synonymous with ruthless intelligence, wrote something that most people read and immediately misunderstand. He said, "It is better to be silent and be thought a fool than to speak and remove all doubt." But Machiavelli wasn't talking about foolishness. He was talking about information asymmetry. The less you reveal, the less your enemy can use against you. Sun Tzu understood this at the level of warfare. He wrote, "Be extremely subtle, even to the point of formlessness. Be extremely mysterious, even to the point of soundlessness." Soundlessness. A general without a sound cannot be located, cannot be predicted, cannot be defeated. The same principle applies in the boardroom, in the relationship, in the negotiation, in the confrontation on the street corner. Robert Greene, in the 48 Laws of Power, dedicated an entire law to this principle. Law 4, always say less than necessary. He observed that when powerful people speak, they speak briefly, because the more you say, the more common you appear, and the more likely you are to say something foolish. Silence, Greene argues, is not emptiness. It is a loaded weapon pointed at everyone in the room. Now let's talk about exactly when to use it. Someone challenges you publicly. Maybe it's a colleague undermining your idea in a meeting. Maybe it's a person at a social gathering who makes a sharp, pointed comment designed to embarrass you. Maybe it's an ex, a rival, a person who has decided, for whatever reason, that today is the day they test you. They want a reaction. They are fishing. Every nerve in your body fires at once. Your jaw tightens. Your chest fills with heat. The comeback, sharp, devastating, perfect, forms in your mind almost before they finish their sentence. Everything in your biology is screaming, respond, defend yourself, strike back. This is the oldest impulse in the human animal. Here is what they are counting on. The provocation is a trap. It is architected specifically to drag you out of your strategic position and onto emotional terrain where they control the rules. The moment you fire back, even brilliantly, you have confirmed that their words had weight. You have told them and everyone watching that they found the lever, that they can move you. And a person who can be moved can be controlled. You say nothing, not an awkward nothing, not a flustered nothing, a deliberate nothing. You hold eye contact for precisely 1 beat longer than is comfortable. Then you turn your attention elsewhere, calmly, completely, as if what they said carried no more weight than background noise. This is what Machiavelli called strategic indifference, the refusal to grant significance to that which is designed to destabilize you. You are negotiating. Salary, a contract, a deal, a boundary in a relationship. You have made your position known. You have stated your terms. Now there is a pause in the conversation. The silence becomes uncomfortable almost immediately. You feel the urge, overwhelming, irrational, to fill it, to soften the terms, to add a justification, to say, I mean, I'm flexible, of course. Most people cave in their own silence. They negotiate against themselves before the other party has said a single word. This is where fortunes are lost. Every word you add after your position weakens it. Every qualification tells the other party there is room to push. Silence, your silence, held steadily, without apology, communicates that your offer is final, that you are not anxious, that you do not need this deal more than they do. Psychological research in behavioral economics confirms this. The first person to speak after an offer is made almost always loses. After you state your terms, you stop. You become a statue. You let the silence expand and fill the room like smoke. You let them break first. As Sun Tzu instructed, the skillful fighter puts himself into a position which makes defeat impossible and does not miss the moment for defeating the enemy. Your silence is that position. It cannot be argued with. It cannot be read. It cannot be exploited. You find out someone has been lying about you, telling stories, poisoning perceptions, constructing a false version of you in the minds of people who matter. The lies are specific enough to sting. They've reached people in your professional circle, your social world, maybe someone you care about. The instinct is to correct the record, to go to each person individually, to explain, to defend, to present evidence of your character, to confront the source directly and publicly dismantle them. It feels like justice. It feels necessary. But here is the cruel psychology of this situation. The moment you begin defending yourself against a lie, you amplify it. You draw attention to it. You make people who never heard the story suddenly very curious about it. And worse, your visible distress, your urgency to clear your name, signals to every observer that the story might be worth believing. Guilt, in social perception, often looks like defensive protest. Innocence, paradoxically, often looks like calm disregard. You continue building. You continue performing excellence. You let your actions be the only rebuttal that matters. Robert Greene wrote, "Never waste valuable time or mental peace of mind on the affairs of others. That is too high a price to pay." Your silence on the matter is not weakness. It is the quiet confidence of someone who knows their reputation is built on a foundation no rumor can shake. Something has happened that has genuinely enraged you. A betrayal. A disrespect so profound it feels like a physical violation. You have been wronged in a way that is real, documented, and undeniable. The anger you feel isn't irrational. It is earned. Okay, loudly. You want the other person to feel the full weight of what they've done. Every word building in your throat carries heat and truth and power. You have every right to unleash it, and that is exactly why you must not. Anger, expressed immediately, is a broadcast. It tells the person who hurt you exactly how deeply they got to you. It hands them a map of your vulnerabilities, your attachments, your insecurities, the precise location of every nerve they can press again in the future. Worse, rage almost always overshoots. You say things you cannot retrieve. You make threats you cannot enforce. You expose a level of emotional investment that strips you of leverage permanently. Baltasar Gracian, the 17th century Spanish Jesuit and master of social intelligence, wrote in The Art of Worldly Wisdom, "Never act in passion. If you do, all is lost. You cannot act for yourself if you are not yourself, and passion always drives out reason." The Machiavellian move when you are truly angry? Silence first, action later. You hold your fury like a controlled fire, contained, directed, and released on your timeline, in your chosen method, with surgical precision. The person who wounded you should never see the wound land. Someone demands to know your reasoning, your choices, your plans, your associations. Perhaps a controlling personality in your personal life. Perhaps an authority figure trying to establish dominance. Perhaps someone who simply believes that your decisions require their approval. The question carries an edge. Why did you do that? Who gave you permission? What exactly do you think you're doing? The pressure to explain yourself is almost gravitational. We are socialized from childhood to answer questions. Silence feels rude, defiant, suspicious. So you begin to explain. And in explaining, you justify. And in justifying, you submit. The demand for an explanation is, in most power contexts, not a genuine information request. It is a dominance maneuver. It says, I have the authority to require your accounting. And the moment you comply, voluntarily, anxiously, fully, you have acknowledged that authority. You have placed yourself beneath them in the hierarchy. You've also handed them intelligence. Every explanation you give tells them how you think, what you fear losing, and how to build a better cage around you next time. You are not obligated to explain yourself to those who have not earned the right to your interior. The strategic response? A calm, brief acknowledgement, and then silence. I've thought about it carefully, then nothing. No elaboration, no defense, no invitation to debate. Robert Greene's Law 4 again. Always say less than necessary. Every additional word is a concession. You are in possession of information, critical information, information that if deployed correctly could reshape the dynamics of the room entirely. The conversation is heading in a direction you could easily redirect. You could reveal what you know right now, and you would look brilliant for it. The temptation is intoxicating. There is nothing quite like the social high of having the key piece, the missing data point, and watching people's reactions when you produce it. We are wired for this. The brain releases dopamine when we share knowledge and receive social approval in return. Tell them now. Watch their faces. Information released too early is information that no longer belongs to you. Once you've said it, it cannot be unsaid. It cannot be weaponized again. It cannot be held in reserve for a moment when it would carry 3 times the impact. Worse, the person who speaks everything they know is the person who will never be feared. You can be fully mapped, fully anticipated. Predictability is the death of power. You hold it. You observe the room. You allow the conversation to develop, storing every observation, every misread, every assumption people make in your silence. When, and only when, the strategic moment arrives, you release precisely what is needed. No more. Machiavelli wrote, "The wise man does at once what the fool does finally." The fool releases information impulsively. The wise man releases it perfectly. This one is personal. Someone you care about, romantically, professionally, socially, has been pulling away. The energy has shifted. The communication has thinned. You feel the distance growing and everything inside you wants to close it. You reach out more. You send another message. You try to create conversations. You bring up the old times. You try to remind them of your value. You work harder to hold someone's attention that is already drifting. The pursuit tells them everything they need to know, that you need them more than they need you, that the balance of investment, of emotional equity, is catastrophically uneven. And people by nature move toward that which seems to have value independent of their approval. The more you chase, the more you confirm you can be taken for granted. The more you explain your worth, the more clearly you demonstrate that you don't believe in it. Urgency in attraction and influence dynamics is almost always repulsive. You go quiet, not out of manipulation, but out of self-reclamation. You redirect your energy inward. You return to your own life, your own projects, your own excellence. You become once again a complete world unto yourself. And here is the psychological principle at work. What we cannot fully access, we obsess over. The unanswered message. The person who used to be always available and suddenly isn't. The silence where attention used to live. It creates a vacuum, and human psychology abhors a vacuum. Here is the deepest truth of everything we've discussed today. The world is divided into two kinds of people, the reactors and the strategists. The reactors are everywhere. They are the ones defending, explaining, justifying, retaliating, and oversharing at every turn. Every interaction is a trigger. Every slight is a wound they must immediately tend to in public. Every silence is a void they feel compelled to fill. The strategists are rarer. They understand that information is currency, and that the most precious currency is the kind no one else can see. They understand that emotion is not weakness, but visible emotion is an exploitable vulnerability. They understand that silence, true, deliberate, weaponized silence, is not the absence of power. It is power in its most concentrated form. The person who has mastered silence has mastered themselves. And the person who has mastered themselves cannot be mastered by anyone else. Every word you don't say is a card they cannot read. Every reaction you withhold is leverage they cannot steal. Every explanation you decline to give is a door they cannot walk through. Your silence is not emptiness. It is architecture. It is the most powerful room in your psychological house, and you alone hold the key. From this moment forward, speak with intention, withhold with strategy, react with never, and let them spend their energy trying to decode the most dangerous thing you possess, the version of you that says nothing. If this video recalibrated the way you think about your own silence, drop this in the comments right now. My silence is my power. Let's build a community of people who understand that the quietest person in the room is often running the deepest game. If this gave you a single insight you'll carry with you, hit that like button right now. It takes 2 seconds, and it tells the algorithm to put this knowledge in front of people who need it. Think of someone in your life who reacts to everything, who lets their emotions be read like an open book, who hands power away every time they speak without thinking. Send them this video, not to embarrass them, to arm them. And if you are new here, this channel exists for one reason: to give you the psychological tools to navigate a world that rewards composure, strategy, and self-mastery. Every week we go deeper into power dynamics, into human behavior, into the dark, counterintuitive principles that separate those who are played from those who do the playing. Subscribe, turn on notifications. Don't miss what's coming, because the next video, they definitely don't want you to see.